Hello and welcome to Insight. I'm Elizabeth Omori. My co-presenter Namdi Odipo is on vacation. On the program this week, we will examine two pertinent issues. Firstly, we will examine government's move to crash the prices of food and farm inputs, including subsidized fertilizers, foods and equipment to boost food production nationwide. This move aims to make inputs more accessible and affordable, and the Commissioner for Agriculture, Kebbi State, Shehu Muazu, will speak to us on this announcement by the federal government. Another issue we will be discussing is the myth around leprosy and tuberculosis, prevention and management. And of course, these diseases, medical experts say, both rely on early detection, treatment with antibiotics and public health measures. These chronic infectious diseases are under the World Health Organization's NTD's list. And Dr. Nasser Sani Gwazo, BOT Chairman, Leprosy and Tuberculosis Relief Initiative, will educate us on them. So, welcome to Insights.
Whatever the issues are,
the National Assembly is constitutionally empowered to scrutinize,
however complex or intricate.
We have involved all the academia, the members of the academia. We have involved the academies.
Be it government's policies or in fact any issue of public concern.
Our job is to help you gain clarity and make sense of it all.
This is not really healthy for our democracy.
There's a lot of grievance in terms of who has been in power longest and who becomes the governor of the state.
It's also in the quality of food being consumed.
After all, perception is insight.
And gaining understanding is also getting insight.
The Nigerian government has announced a comprehensive plan to crash the high prices of food and farm inputs, aiming to alleviate the national food crisis within a 180 days period. Minister of Agriculture and Food Security, Senator Abubakar Kyari, highlighted that this intervention includes a duty-free import window, enhanced distribution of subsidized inputs, and strategic production boosts. To speak on this is the Commissioner for Agriculture, Kebbi State, Shehu Muazu. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Insights.
Thank you for having me, ma'am.
Thank you so much. Now, before we go down to the nitty-gritty, how do you see the position of government in terms of crashing food and inputs prices?
We say glory be to God.
Okay.
As government and farmers, this is what we have been waiting for. And this goes to tell us that the government of President Ahmed Bola Tinubu is a responsive government. It's a government that listens to the yearnings and cries of the populace. The farmers have been crying that farm inputs are costing high, and that they are not making money, they are losing. And the government has now responded with a promise to crash down the prices of farm inputs, just like the government has responded in crashing the prices of food via the waiver for import. This is a welcome development, and we are happy for that, and it's a credit to His Excellency the President.
In your state, how has the government been doing this?
Yeah, when this government of Comrade Nasiru Idris Orangondi came on board, there was serious rise in the cost of farm inputs. So we sat down as a government and reviewed all the processes and realized that the only thing we can do is to intervene as far as the cost of production is concerned. This we have done by supplying farm inputs to our farmers, such as fertilizers, seeds, pesticides, and herbicides. All these were purchased and distributed free. Why? Because without those farm inputs, the farming activity will come to a stop. So we're government to encourage our farmers to remain on the farms, bought and distributed all these farm inputs free of charge. We have equally bought solar-powered pumps, CNG pumping pumps, so that powered pumps, so that the prices or the cost of production will equally come down. All this we have done, and to the glory of God, we have significantly reduced the cost of production in Kebbi State. Equally, the federal government through GES has done its own part by bringing in subsidized farm inputs to farmers. This we will very much acknowledge.
Talking about farmers remaining on their farms, like you said, we've seen price of farm produce crashing, but the farmers themselves are not really happy considering the cost of production. What exactly is the problem? Let's hear from you, from farmers from your state. Have you had any complaints?
The problem is, madam, once the cost of production is higher than the selling price, then there is a big problem. So the government has intervened in supplying farm inputs free of charge to farmers, because that is the only way we can do it. There is no subsidy as at that time that can be given that will caution or that will make the farmers to remain on farm. But to the glory of God, we have bought and distributed free farm inputs, and our farmers are on board and are still on their farming activity.
Last administration introduced the Presidential Fertilizer Initiative, whereby inputs were sold at a subsidized rate. So what has been the challenge with the policy?
The program is a very good program and with a very good intention. But I must admit that the implementation at the last mile is the problem. So I think it's a program that we need to sit down and review. Talk to the stakeholders, hear from them, so that the government can up its game, so that we can be able to get the farm inputs to the last mile. The last mile here, I mean the farmer.
Okay. So with the Minister of Agriculture, Abubakar Kyari, announcing that a similar initiative will be introduced, how do you think or see the government handling the policy?
I will commend I first want to commend the Honorable Minister for standing to his feet. But I would like the Minister to, this time around, invite all the stakeholders for us to agree on the implementation of the new policy. Otherwise, it's not going to bear the fruit, or it's not going to meet the target. We really need to sit down to ensure that it is only the farmers that will benefit from the subsidies, not the middlemen. So this can only be achieved when all stakeholders are involved.
When all stakeholders are involved. But why is implementation always difficult?
Lack of patriotism, madam.
Okay.
So many of our people don't seem to understand what food security is all about. Because if you know what food security is all about, you will not do anything that will hinder the achievement of food security. And I tell you, lack of patriotism is the problem.
So how do we ensure food security? How do we go about this? Because some states are actually still struggling with farming activities in their domains.
The best way to achieve food security is continuous production.
Okay.
How do you maintain continuous production? By allowing the real farmers to enjoy all the benefits. Food security is a collective responsibility of each one of us. However, due to lack of patriotism, some unscrupulous element within our community, within our society, corner inputs with subsidies meant for the farmers. So because of this lack of patriotism, some of the inputs that are meant for the farmers doesn't get to the farmer. The best way to go about food security is continuous production. Okay. However, continuous production cannot be achieved until we have the farm inputs intended for the farmer reaching the farmer on time. So Nigerians need to understand that food security is a collective responsibility. Therefore, those people that are in the habit of farm inputs with subsidies meant for the farmers, so that they will go back and sell at a higher price in the market, should desist from. Because if you're not a farm, somebody has to farm it. So let's appreciate the effort of the government, so that all the farm inputs with subsidies that are meant for the farmer allow it to reach the farmer. Okay. So that the farmers will continue to produce for us 2 or 3 cycles in a year.
Okay, now let's talk about insecurity on farms. We are going to be taking cues from your state, which is Kebbi State. How has the state government been handling insecurity on farms?
Very well. The state governor has done tremendously very well in this aspect. If I can recall, while taking over office as the governor immediately after his swearing in, the state will have all over the southern part of Kebbi scattered IDPs, as said all over. So the first thing we did was to ensure the IDPs went back to their various places. Then we moved in to secure their farms, and they were able to go back to their farms and produce. That is why, for the last 2 years consecutively, production in the Kebbi State has been rising, and we thank Allah for that, and we give credit to our government.
Okay. Now, we hear that some farmers have allayed fears about the annual price hike of tomatoes during Ramadan fast. Any plan or move for subsidization?
Madam, there is no plan to subsidize tomatoes, but actually what we need to do is to reorient our farmers so that they will know the lean period, so that they will be producing to meet up the demand during such period. Instead of putting all our energies to produce when the supply in the market is high, so we all know the cycle, we know the lean period, so that we can schedule our planting season, so that we will have supplies in such period of Ramadan and Christmas festival. Federal government through the GES is a very, very good program. However, I want the federal government to sit down and evaluate that program, where the lapses are, where the inputs doesn't get to the farmer. That can be tackled. And equally, the federal government should give us a level playing ground and ensure that food doesn't come into Nigeria. Because as long as food is imported into Nigeria, madam, I'm assuring you, our farmers cannot compete. Why? Because we are the foreign farmers are technologically ahead of us. They are, in terms of good agronomic practices, they are ahead of us. Indeed, their yield per area is far ahead of what we do. So we cannot compete with them. So we need that support from the federal government so that our farmers will continue to produce, and we can produce to feed Nigeria. I assure you this.
Okay, but you said the government should try not to allow food coming to Nigeria, but this cannot actually be stopped. As long as there's exportation, importation will also be at play. So how do we correct this narrative?
Madam, let me tell you, there is no country in the world that can be food secured with importation.
Okay.
Nigeria is one of the countries that is expected to feed the world in the near future. It's written there by the World Bank report and United Nations, because we have the land mass, we have the population, which is a youthful population and very active. So it is now that we're supposed to do that, and we have to start it in earnest. The federal government initiative is very good one. Temporary importation, let's now close the borders, the prices are stabilized, then we support internal production, then food security will be assured.
Okay. All right. I have a question for you from one of our regular viewers. She said, what is the quality of the fertilizers we have now, owing to the fact that when some farm produce are left for days, they actually do not last?
I know my state always go and buy quality fertilizer for our farmers. That I very well knows, and we have educated our farmers on how to know the best quality when they go to the market to buy fertilizer.
Okay. Now, my final question, once again, let's talk about loans, financial inclusion for farmers, especially female farmers, women farmers, for smallholder farmers, especially women, I repeat again. Now, how do we go about their empowerment financially? Many of them complain about soft loans. Sometimes collaterals and interests are very high. Now that GIP 3.0 is been launched to provide them access to money. How would your state be utilizing or leveraging this initiative to ensure that women farmers or smallholder farmers benefit?
We have, as a state in the past, benefited from so many World Bank development projects. And these projects have developed the capacity of our farmers in terms of enterprise management. So I think we as a state, we are very much ready to leverage on the next gift to come up so that our farmers will benefit in terms of participation. And where the state government is going to do everything possible for the farmers in my state, that is the women and youth, to participate. Madam, let me add here that what the federal government has done in recapitalizing the Bank of Agriculture is a very, very good initiative that will allow access to capital by farmers, irrespective of gender or what have you. So it's just left for the Nigerian people, Nigerian farmers, to get ready and benefit from the large chunk of money put in there by the federal government for their own benefit and for their own use.
Shehu Muhazu, Commissioner for Agriculture, Kebbi State, I want to thank you so much for joining us on Insight, and thank you for providing insight. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ma. It's my pleasure having you.
Thank you.
Whatever the issues are,
The National Assembly is constitutionally empowered to scrutinize,
However complex or intricate,
We have involved all the academia, the members of the academia. We have involved the academies.
be it government policies or in fact any issue of public concern,
our job is to help you gain clarity and make sense of it all.
This is not really healthy for our democracy.
There's a lot of agreements in terms of who has been in power longest and who becomes the governor of the state.
It's also in the quality of food being consumed.
After all, perception is insight.
and gaining understanding is also getting insight.
Leprosy and tuberculosis are long-standing infectious diseases caused by distinct species of mycobacteria, among the oldest recorded human illnesses. Both conditions trigger inflammation and can lead to considerable illness and disability. Although effective treatments exist and cure is possible, they continue to pose significant public health challenges in many regions around the world. Now, to clear the myth around these diseases is Dr. Nasser Sani Gwazo, BOT Chairman, Leprosy and Tuberculosis Relief Initiative. He will speak to us. Sir, thank you so much for joining us on Insights.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Now, let's talk tuberculosis and leprosy. Yes. Why do they persist despite being curable diseases?
Yes, I like the introduction you gave, that these two diseases are among the oldest diseases in the world. They've been along with us, and although treatment and cure have been found for both of them, it still is very clear that they're very much around.
Okay.
And there are several reasons for this persistence. Let's take TB, for example, caused by Mycobacterium tuberculosis of different types. And by the way, people only mostly know about TB, tuberculosis, of the lungs. But TB can affect almost every part of the human body. There's TB of the skin, TB of the spine, TB of the abdomen, TB of almost every part of the body. But the good thing is that they all have cure. Once diagnosed, it's difficult to diagnose it instantly because the set-in is very slow. It's a chronic disease. But once it is diagnosed and the diagnostic tools are available, you start treatment within a span of time, depending on the nature of the infection and the intensity, also the bacteria, the type, its resistance to conventional treatment. You can quickly treat that disease, close the case, it no longer becomes infectious.
Okay.
Then you reach a conclusive time when you can say this person is cured. But there are compounding factors, especially for tuberculosis, HIV. Anybody who has HIV is very, very prone to reactivating the old TB that had been dormant in the system. And by the way, for those who have grown in a very endemic environment, they inhale the TB bacteria at early stage in life, and it forms a caseous material in the lungs, which prevents them from getting the disease, but it consistently or persistently recharges the immune system such that you have the infection, it is encased, it's not infectious, it's not going to give you disease, but it helps you to consistently be recharging your immunity. If one comes up with tuberculosis, it opens that case.
Okay.
And the person becomes infected, the person becomes active TB, the person also becomes infectious to others. That is for TB. Also, there are conditions that lower immunity that can reactivate old TB. For example, diabetes.
Okay.
Those who are on cancer treatment. Anything that lowers the immunity, lowers your guard, and easily one can reactivate the old TB. Now let's move to the leprosy, which is a cousin sister of Mycobacterium tuberculosis, and it is called Mycobacterium leprae. That one also is of different types. It causes different kinds of deformity in the peripheral nerve system, in the digits, especially the legs, the hands, the face, the facial bones, and etc., even the eyes. At the end of the day, if one has leprosy, before it is diagnosed, in most cases, the skin symptoms or signs usually predate the active deformation or deformity that they experience. But if it is picked at that early stage, somebody with leprosy could even be cured without you ever seeing any peripheral sign on their body, legs or hands or face that they ever had leprosy. And that's why I tell people one of the things that is making leprosy to persist is the stigma.
Okay.
There's too much stigma in leprosy that people would rather quietly run away or hide themselves until it becomes too obvious. And at that stage, the damage is done. And most of the leprosy patients you see on the street today, a good number of them that have gone to treat, or most of them that have gone through the treatment regimen, I can say they are cured leprosy patients.
Okay.
Or they are cured leprosy persons, people with leprosy. What you see is the stigmata, the signs, the telltale signs that they had leprosy in the past. Maybe the finger is deformed, maybe the face is deformed, maybe the toes are deformed, but the actual bacterium that causes leprosy in them is already gone. They are no longer infectious, but they have the signs that they had leprosy in the past.
Okay, I'd like to come in. Why is TB more widely spread globally compared to leprosy?
Yes, leprosy, TB is more infectious. They virtually have similar ways of transmission, but TB is more infectious because it's easily taken in the air, in the droplets, and it becomes tuberculosis, especially of the lungs. And that's why it's very common. And many people are living in endemic areas as early as possible in life. They get the infection and they encase it such that it does not become infectious, but it is there in their system. Okay. And they reactivate it whenever the immunity is lowered. As for leprosy, the number of people infected is not as large as the number of people with tuberculosis. And again, the stigma makes more leprosy patients aggregate in colonies. They do not move around, and only people who are very closely linked to them get the infection, especially their children, their immediate neighbors, or those that interact with them on a daily basis. Those that closely interact with them, but also you inhale it. And when they sneeze, they cough out a sizable quantity of the mycobacterium, or any liquids coming out of them, they send it out, and then you can inhale it and then become leprosy infected. Maybe that is one of the reasons that the number is reducing. I always pose this challenge to people. I say, if I were to give you a bet of 10 million naira, I say, go and get me a new leprosy patient. New. It will be very difficult for you to bring one. I could as well claim my money back. The reason is the number of leprosy patients in the world is reducing.
Okay.
It is one of the public health success stories that we are not beating our drums well enough.
Okay.
All over the world, leprosy is reducing. If we lower our guard at this stage, and we allow the number of the little that is still going on, the little transmission that is still going on, it's very likely that it will grow up again. So what we are doing now is to make sure that the number of people that are already infected are on treatment.
Okay.
And as soon as they get effective treatment, we wean them out of treatment. They are no longer infectious, even if they have the stigmata of leprosy.
Let's talk diagnosis. Why is early diagnosis still a challenge in both diseases?
Stigma is one of the reasons. A lot of people feel shy or feel some even angry that why should I have leprosy? Why should I have TB? Not knowing that at that stage when you're asking all those questions, why me? Then they start hiding, they are in denial because of the magnitude of the stigma, they go into denial. If they can overcome that denial as early as possible and go and seek treatment, the diagnosis is very easy. We have centers that are experts all across the country. In fact, by the rule we have, every 50 kilometers radius must have a laboratory that has the capacity to diagnose tuberculosis. And every 25-kilometer radius should have the capacity to treat successfully all cases of tuberculosis. And then if you go to every state, we have leprosy control centers that all the patients aggregate. In fact, some states have many, including centers where they get the diagnosis, treatment, and rehabilitation. Some of them require some form of surgery to help them, especially those that have chronic ulcers. Some of them have some minor operations to do. Some of them have also from digital support support for mobility, where you give them artificial limbs, especially legs. So we have all these facilities in Nigeria, and you will be shocked if you go the quality of materials, including the shoes that are made for them, that are tailored to specifics of their needs. Each individual patient is given a specific test, given the measurements, and then the shoes are made for them to support them in mobility.
You mentioned surgery. So what are the limitations of current diagnostic tools for TB and leprosy? Probably we should just start with leprosy.
Well, yes. The challenges we face with leprosy, I can say, mostly are not from the supply side.
Okay.
They are from the demand side. If people with leprosy or newly infected persons or people that are prone or exposed to leprosy can overcome the stigma and come forward to ask, I have been in contact with a leprosy patient, please, I need help.
Okay.
One of the good news that we have in leprosy is that there is a new treatment called single-dose rifampicin post-exposure prophylaxis.
Okay.
The name is a mouthful, but it's a very simple, one of the simplest treatments to give. Once one is exposed to a leprosy patient and requires, once one is exposed to a leprosy patient and we see that the danger or the possibility of getting leprosy is high, that person is given that treatment, and it protects the person for good 2 solid years. So any person who has contact with a leprosy patient and is afraid, please rush to one of our centers. We'll give you that post-exposure prophylaxis, and you would not be at risk of developing leprosy.
Okay.
The other aspect of treatment, which is the diagnosis, as for the diagnosis and even the treatment, we have centers that are very, very well connected. Many of the non-governmental organizations and the government facilities are linked. The government of Nigeria has a very solid leprosy treatment program with so many centers that are of specialized, of specialty category in different parts of the country. And the good news there is that most of these things are free. And we have a strong international support. We have what we call the International Leprosy Partners. We call them ILEP. It's a network that mobilizes resources across the world, brings it to all the countries that are in need, inclusive of Nigeria inclusive, and it's made available at those centers. I don't think there is any time you go to those centers and you do not find all the required diagnostics, all the required treatment, all the required prophylaxis, and even the rehabilitative materials that are required. So it's all left to the people to demand for these services, and the services are made available to them.
Okay. Now let's talk case detection. How can community-based screening improve this aspect?
Yes. One of the challenges that you mentioned is case detection from the demand side. From the supply side, government has done very well.
Okay.
The international partners, the development partners, the NGOs, and the local, state, and the local government facilities are very much available. But how do we get those demand sides propped up for people to come and ask for these services? Do case detection, early case detection, is for the communities to be mobilized.
In terms of treatment for leprosy now, again, is drug resistance an issue?
Well, it is an issue because we're dealing with a living mycobacterium, but so far, with the arrangements made, I do not think we have much of that risk as a nation.
Okay.
Because anybody that is on treatment, you find that as soon as they accept it and come to the treatment table, we easily put them on treatment, monitor them effectively, and wean them out officially. There is a timeline for which this, for the treatment is declared complete, and that person is now released from treatment. Otherwise, the person will continue to take the medication. So it's not a challenge from the supply side.
Okay.
It's mostly a challenge until people come in. We are sure that, once people can come into the system, we'll be sure that they receive the right treatment.
Okay. Is this applicable to TB as well? TB treatment?
TB is more troublesome.
Okay.
Because a lot of the TB patients come in serious distress, especially those that are sick. They didn't know it was TB until they reach a stage where it affects their breathing, for example, pulmonary TB. And as soon as they start getting well, a good number of them will continue to take the treatment until doctor declares them released from treatment.
Okay.
But a sizable number, a small number, once they feel okay, they might go ahead and leave the treatment. And that is where we run into trouble. 2, some people may be abusing the drugs. And even ab initio, they get infected, once they abuse the drugs, they are not only abusing the drugs and endangering themselves, but they are also exposing other members of society into trouble, because they will now be transmitting tuberculosis resistant strains. So ab initio, if one gets infected with that kind of TB, then the person becomes multi-drug resistant TB infected. And it's more difficult to treat. You have to step up the treatment level, and it's not easy. And that is why in every good TB center, and by the way, the centers are well coordinated, there is a hierarchy. There's a regimen. There's a first line treatment, there's a second line treatment, and there's even another alternative when we reach that level where it proves that there is resistance. Okay. However, there are diseases that predispose people to coming down with TB. They also predispose them to getting TB resistance, and HIV is one of them. So the treatment also needs to be safeguarded, the drugs. When you put somebody on treatment, you need to make sure the person understands the value of what they're taking, and also the dangers associated with any mismanagement of those drugs. They will not only expose the individuals to drug resistance, but they will make them continue to transmit or spread drug-resistant strains of tuberculosis.
What strategies can be improved upon to ensure that treatment completion rates is boosted?
I'm happy to say that from what I've seen in the colonies, and I do visit them frequently, we have very good rapport with them. What we do is to make sure they are educated and they have treatment support buddies. Every person on treatment has a buddy.
Okay.
They make sure they follow up. If you don't take your treatment, it's like it's not an individual person taking the treatment, it's the whole group. Everybody is aware of who is on treatment. And those who have been discharged from treatment, there is somebody that I know who is over 30 years post-treatment. And that kind of a person will now form part of the support service that make sure that the new entrants do not skip treatment, and they comply strictly. By the time you go to universities, you still see that you have children from those colonies that are in the university, but the number has further declined. One of the places I visited, they told me they have high-ranking Nigerians who graduated from their colony, passed through the primary school, passed through the secondary, were able to get a university. They are now back in society, helping society and paying back those communities. But the sad thing is that those colonies are devoid of modern amenities. Many of them you go, they don't have power supply. Some of them do not have pipe-borne water. Some of them do not even have a good primary school. The few that have primary schools are doing very well. Yes. And they want to be integrated. They want to participate. And that's why we advocate not only for the stigma to be lowered, we are fighting stigma as much as possible, but we are also educating the public to know that when you see a leprosy patient with bent fingers and hands or legs, do not think that person is having leprosy. That is a cured leprosy patient. Please give him a handshake to boost their morale.
Please, I need you to make that statement again for clarity.
Yes. When you see a cured leprosy person, I will not call him patient, cured leprosy person with fingers that are damaged, or clumped up fingers and legs, it does not mean that that person is an active raw leprosy case. Many of them are post-treatment, discharged from treatment for the last 30, 40 years, I went to one of the colonies recently, and the chief is somebody I've known since my early days as the national director of tuberculosis in Nigeria. And when we saw, we hugged each other. We shook our hands together because I knew him. I knew when he was discharged from treatment. I knew his antecedents. Many of them in those colonies recognized me as a person because we interacted some 20, 25 years ago. The reason why I'm saying this is they feel the weight of the stigma in their hearts. The little show of
compassion
that you do to them means a lot to them. They don't need your money. What they need is compassion. What they need is understanding. And many of them, I tell you, they are helping society because by maintaining and staying in the colonies, they invite other new leprosy entrants, which, by the way, the number is reducing. They invite them, they host them, they teach them the do's and don'ts, and by doing that, they reduce the leprosy that is in town. So I think they are doing a good job. They need to be repaid. The stigma we are giving them is unwarranted, is not necessary. Many of them are cured. If I give you an example now that is very vivid, maybe say somebody had an accident in the year 1990, broke their leg, and the person is limping. Will you call that person an accident patient? The person is healed.
Yes.
But the person is still limping now. That's exactly what is happening to a leprosy patient. They get healed. We discharge them from treatment. If you check their blood system, their respiratory system, nowhere you see the Mycobacterium leprae. It's gone. But the damage done to the limbs, the damage done to the skin, even to the shape of their face is still there. So when you see that, you think it's leprosy. It is not. It has gone. That person is a cured person. When people have leprosy, the first thing that comes to their mind is denial. Why me? It cannot be me. It's not my portion. As soon as it keeps becoming a reality, they now accept it as their sad reality. Then it sets in anger. Anger. And then they feel dejected, frustration. They get depressed. So at that time, if you keep them in their state, they will not go for treatment in their state of mind. They will not go for any available help, and they will continue to spread the disease. So with education, they know where to go, get succor, get relief, get compassion, and get treatment. As a result, the colonies are helpful. But very soon, I'm telling you, from the number of leprosy, the rate of decline, we are at a stage where, for two reasons or three, the rate of decline of leprosy itself, if we continue to achieve high level of advocacy, and also with the arrival of post-exposure prophylaxis, I believe in the next few years, we should be able to declare leprosy gone. Some countries have done it. Nigeria can do it.
Yes. Now, it's interesting to know that countries are actually making efforts. But really, are current global elimination strategies effective?
Current?
Global elimination strategies.
Oh, they are. Very, very effective. And that is one of the challenges we are facing. We relied heavily on donor support. Different partners come in and say, okay, I dedicate this amount to leprosy. By the time the numbers are falling, there is no motivation for donors to continue to put in money. And that is the fear that we have. It's a critical point that if the support discontinues, it may reverse the success. The little pockets of new transmission that still remain need to be conclusively stopped. We must continue to be on our guard. We must continue to support those leprosy patients that still remain, and we must be able to prevent any potential new infection. Fortunately for us, there is a PEP, post-exposure prophylaxis. There is effective treatment. We have the armamentarium, we have the men, we have the women to support this treatment. but we need to go to the last bus stop.
If we recall Ebola and COVID-19, we talk about vaccination. For these diseases, these conditions, what role does vaccination play really?
Well, vaccination helps because there is what we call the BCG. It's a vaccine that is given to children at birth to prevent tuberculosis. It also helps to prevent leprosy. So most people that have had that effective BCG vaccine would have had some immunity conferred on them. But still, people can get infected. The other compounding factors within the body or within the environment or within the nature of the particular bacteria that is being transmitted. Is it the multi-drug resistant type? Is it which of the subtypes? Then determines how fast or how soon or how severe anybody exposed to them could develop the disease. But by and large, the number is reducing.
Good.
The vaccine is becoming more effective, but we are now, my fear is that we're entering a relaxed mode.
Okay.
And that relaxation is the danger.
That's the danger.
Exactly.
Okay, so my final question to you is this. How can the government strengthen surveillance systems to ensure that the figures are reduced to the barest?
The good thing is that most of the disease surveillance system and the disease response system and healthcare delivery systems, each of them is a sub-entity, but they reinforce each other. By the time you go to the field to do vaccination and you see a leprosy patient as a health worker, you do not walk away and say, no, I came for surveillance. So that surveillance you're doing, I came for polio surveillance, for example, that case now, that opportunity is now transferred to other diseases. So if you go for one purpose as a health team, be it vaccination, be it surveillance for any particular disease, be it a health response to an outbreak, a particular outbreak, or be it even healthcare delivery in the normal channels, you now have to cater for whatever health realities you see in the field. If we do that, we'll help the entire system. And that's exactly what we're doing with leprosy. We are not working in isolation. Every health team, we consider them as partners in leprosy control, in spite of the stigma.
In spite of the stigma.
Yeah.
Dr. Nasir Sani Gwaza, I want to thank you so much for enlightening us. Thank you very much for your compact information on our focus. Thank you so much. We do appreciate your time on Insights this week.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Thank
sir.
you.
Whatever the issues are,
The National Assembly is constitutionally empowered to scrutinize.
However complex or intricate,
We have involved all the academia, the members of the academia. We have involved the academies.
be it government policies or in fact any issue of public concern,
our job is to help you gain clarity and make sense of it all.
This is not really healthy for our democracy.
There's a lot of agreements in terms of who has been in power longest and who becomes the governor of the state.
It's also in the quality of food being consumed.
After all, perception is insight.
and gaining understanding is also getting insight.
And that's Insight today. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week for more insightful discussions. Stay safe and God bless Nigeria. I'm Elizabeth Omori. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.